Prince Harry and Meghan Markle have had an eventful year, including their Oprah Winfrey interview, the arrival of their second child Lilibet and the death of Prince Philip. Today, December 29, marks 1 year since the Sussexes released the first episode of their Archewell audio podcast. Following the announcement that the royals had signed a reported £18 million deal with streaming giant Spotify, much was expected of Meghan and Harry. They produced one 35-minute-long episode, calling on famous faces including Sir Elton John and James Corden to discuss how they had dealt with the pandemic and their own hopes for the future. Archie made a brief appearance too, wishing listeners a Happy New Year, with Harry and Meghan laughing as he did so. Yet, since then, they haven't produced another minute of content. According to The Sun, they have earned a staggering £486,000 per minute for their work so far. Others have suggested, however, that Spotify would almost certainly not have paid the full fee up front, but instead a small advance. Harry and Meghan have also signed a multi-million-pound deal with Netflix. Royal expert Russell Myers, however, warned the streaming giants are going to want the pound of flesh at some point. Pod Save the Queen is hosted by Mr. Myers, the Mirror's royal editor, and Zoe Fawzi. Speaking in January, Mr. Myers said, "They want to try and work out where Harry and Meghan's future lies and whether it is to carry on with this juggernaut of signing themselves up to projects with these massive corporations that arguably will want their pound of flesh at the end of it. I don't think they'll just give out tens of millions of pounds to Harry and Meghan to just churn out podcasts like they did on the pilot episode we heard recently. As nice as it was, I don't think it's breaking any new ground. And certainly the money that is being given to Harry and Meghan, they are going to presumably want them to do something a bit meaty. And whether that involves them showing their lives in California or whether it involves them doing historical projects about the royal family or talking about their position before Megxi." The Sussexes hired veteran podcast producer Rebecca Sarnes as their head of audio in August, with exciting projects reportedly in the pipeline. A Spotify source recently told The Sun, Spotify were delighted when they signed the couple, but the lack of content has mystified them, particularly as they seem to have no problem producing content for other platforms. Media lawyer Ian Penman, who specializes in music streaming contracts, recently told Express. Co.uk that Spotify may have overestimated Meghan and Harry's popularity. He said, "It would not be an unfair assumption that perhaps their popularity was not as great as maybe they or indeed Spotify initially felt. I think you could draw a conclusion that if Spotify haven't exercised the option on the next episode of the podcast, then maybe they did not have the popularity that either Meghan and Harry expected or indeed Spotify anticipated." Mr. Penman stressed Spotify would not have lost out if the deal did not go quite as planned. He explained that when musicians sign large deals, they do not receive all of the money they are entitled to on day one. He said, "When they talk about an £18 million Spotify podcast deal, it probably means that they have signed their first product, in this case a podcast. They then have many, many options for further products." He added, "If all those options are exercised, and we don't know how many podcasts that relates to, it may be that the total money spent by Spotify is £18 million. So, have they lost any money today? Probably, not a penny." The lack of content might be explained by Meghan and Harry's busy schedules. Alongside raising their second child, the Oprah Winfrey interview and various other commitments, Meghan has released children's book, The Bench, while Harry became Chief Impact Officer at mental health startup, Better Up, according to Mercury News. It remains unclear when Meghan and Harry's next podcast episode will be released, if at all.